possible there based on mathematical stuff, but there's no evidence of an avalanche.
Yeah.
They weren't buried in snow. The hot chocolate was uncovered. More than likely, the tent had snow on it to pack it down to keep it from blowing away in the high winds. Like, it wouldn't really, it kind of explains why they left the tent, but not why they would walk single file a mile down the hill.
Yeah.
Barefoot. Like, they would have noticed that there wasn't an avalanche coming.
Right.
And nothing's covered in snow. And an avalanche doesn't really, like, explain their injuries the way that you would want it to. They're not, like, avalanche injuries. I don't know what an avalanche injury is, but this isn't it.
Right.
And they, if you're running away from an avalanche, you also wouldn't walk directly downhill in front of the avalanche. You would walk to the side.
Yeah. Yeah, none of it makes sense for an avalanche.
No.
Because, yeah, they would have been buried by the tent. An avalanche is so fast, too.
Right. Like, you can't outrun an avalanche.
Yeah.
And there was that ski pole in the picture that was still upright, and obviously none of the food in their tent was spilled or crushed or anything. Like,
Yeah.
It wasn't an avalanche. I don't care what anyone says. If you think it's an avalanche, you're a sheep.
Yeah, there's no way it was an avalanche. So, end of that theory.
Yeah. Next is the Kármán vortex street phenomenon, which a Kármán vortex is like it's like cascading spirals. I'm going to post a picture of it on the Instagram, but it's like a trail of spirals, kind of like I sent you a picture of that one, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, you did.
It looks almost like hearts.
Right. Okay.
But that specific like wind pattern is created when something goes around a cylindrical object. So I guess it's really common on like silos, and that's why they put all that stuff around silos to break it up. But it causes like low frequency sound waves that you can't hear. And in some people that causes like it makes you freak out. But not in everyone. So I don't think this happened either, because it doesn't really explain their injuries. Yeah. It might explain why they left the tent, but again, they walked. It only makes sense for them leaving the tent if they had run everywhere, and they didn't. They walked.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't like that one either.
The walking is really throwing me off, because I had never heard that.
Right, and I feel like no one talks about it because it makes it very hard
Yeah.
to come up with a theory that's like a natural theory.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely not that either.
And this, like, Kármán vortex street, like, there's some evidence of, well, not evidence, but very recently in Havana, U.S. diplomat, like, agencies, what am I saying? Employees at the U.S. diplomat in Havana, Cuba, were, like, getting headaches and, like, hearing sounds in their head that weren't there, and they think that it was, like, an infrasound weapon that was, like, making them freak out.
Oh. Yeah, I've heard of those, too. I mean,
Yes.
Sound would be a good weapon.
It would, especially if you can't even hear it, because
Yeah.
it's so low. Like, that's genius.
It's scary.
I know. Other people think that hypothermia and, like, paradoxical undressing, where I guess if you get really, really cold, you take your clothes off. But I just want to think that they were smarter than that.
I mean, but it happens to everyone. It's not how smart you are.
I mean, it doesn't happen to everyone.
Most people who died from hypothermia took some layers of clothing off, some kind of layer.
I guess. I don't know.
But also, like...
They're also, like, they left the tent like that. It would make sense
Yeah.
if they were, like, out there and their clothes were all around them.
Right.
But they had a stove. All they had to do was light the stove.
Yeah, that part's also weird. And yeah, they left the tent wearing bad layers to begin with.
Right.
So
I don't like that one either.
Yeah.
The next one is Yeti.
My favorite, but also not.
And you will see a little document. So the entire Yeti theory is based off of this little like fake news article that they wrote.
Okay.
And this is a translation. The original is missing, which makes me think it had something else written on it that they didn't want to get out. But under the science section, it says, in recent years, there has been a heated debate about the existence of Yeti. According to recent reports, Yeti lives in the northern Ural Mountains near Mount Ortorton.
Ortorton?
Ortorton. Yeah.
Okay.
Ortorton.
So this is the only place that the Yeti comes from?
Yes. Like, that is the entire Yeti theory because they made a joke. And old people can't take a joke, I guess.
Accurate.
They read that and they're like, for sure, Yeti.
Yeah. I mean,
And it...
makes more sense than the others so far.
What?
No, it doesn't
doesn't.
make sense. No, I've never thought it was the Yeti. I knew people said that maybe, but...
And Discovery Channel made an entire, like, mockumentary about how it was the Yeti. And that really pissed people off.
I feel like I watched that. I also watched the mermaid, like, mockumentary or whatever.
I fell for the mermaid one. It was really good.
It was really good. This one, not so much, but yeah. I mean, I feel like Yeti could exist, but it definitely didn't have anything to do with this. I don't know. Like,
I know. I don't know how this became, like, one of the theories.
yeah. Wouldn't you be, like, shredded or something if a Yeti actually killed you?
Yeah, it probably would have wanted to eat part of you for sure.
That's true. Well, it is weird that, like, no animals ate any part of them.
It's because nothing, like, lives there. Like, there are no animals there.
Okay.
But I just think it's hilarious that, like, adults got their hand on this and they said, oh, a Yeti. Like, of all the things, like, it's clearly a joke.
Well, this happens today, too.
It says, Armenian quiz. Can 9 hikers get by with 1 stove and a blanket?
I mean,
They're not funny.
They could get by with it. If they had just lit the stove.
I know, but they
been
didn't.
Fine. I know. Very weird.
Yes. And that was written on February 1st. And there's also a picture of, like, a guy covered in snow out in the distance that people think is the Yeti. But...
No. Wait, so this was written February 1st? But they didn't die till this... Oh, no, wait. When did they die?
The 2nd was, like... Well, there wasn't anything after the 1st, I think, was the last day of their...
So how does this get published the same day?
It wasn't. It was written in the diary. This is like a...
Oh, okay.
They wrote it in a diary and
I
then
see
someone
now.
typed it out.
I see the title now. Transcript of their... Yeah. Okay. Sad.
Other theories are that there were KGB agents involved because at the time it was extremely common for people to go out into the wilderness to interact with the CIA.
Yeah.
And Zolotarov joined the group at the last minute, and they thought Krivonashenko also might have been a KGB agent.
I could see that. But why would they kill them?
So, but here's my thought. Maybe someone said something they weren't supposed to say. And then if it was Krivonashenko and Zolotarov, maybe he overheard them say something while he was out going to the bathroom. And he had his camera. And then they're like, okay, come on now, everyone out of the tent, cut it open and walk out. And we're going to walk down this hill. And then he maybe, like, they kind of looked like they had been tortured. maybe. Like, some of their injuries, one of them was burned. I don't remember which one. So, then maybe they said Luda had, like, a sharp tongue. Like, she was kind of mouthy, and I could see them cutting her tongue out to prove a point.
Yeah. But why would they die?
Well, maybe they knew something.
Oh.
Or maybe they were stupid and couldn't make it back to the tent. Or maybe there was another person there that was doing all of the, like a completely separate person that did all of this and they did get away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But the radioactive stuff also, like, one of the diary entries also said something along the lines of someone, I don't remember who. I want to say either Krivonischenko or Kolovatov, but don't quote me on this because I don't remember. Tried to start up a device, but it didn't work, so he'll try again later. And that was in a diary that no one can figure out whose diary it was.
That's weird, too.
Right?
What?
Yeah, there's one diary, no one knows who it was, and there's also one of the cameras that no one can figure out whose it was. But there were other diaries that are missing. Like, most of the group had a diary, and they only found, like, 3 of them.
Oh, really?
And the group diary, okay. Yes.
But they can't attribute this mystery one to any of the others that they didn't find?
No, because it was, like, written in a way that mentioned the other people.
Oh.
I think.
Secret observer.
Yeah, like, no one's ever been able to figure out whose diary this was, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's starting to be more believable. Someone, either one of the group or someone outside of the group was like, okay, everyone out, you know something, you shouldn't, or whatever, and
they shared, like, a state secret or something, or said something they weren't supposed to, or knew something and they just decided right then was the time to interrogate them. I don't know.
Yeah.
What if that... Go ahead.
Okay. I was, like, gonna say, what if one of the, like, military people or the KGB, either
Krivonischenko.
Yeah, or the older guy. What if they said something that was, like, a secret that they knew because of their job, but they shouldn't have told anyone? And then
possible
someone else was already there or whatever, or I don't know.
Listening.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to know because what are they supposed to... First of all, footprints would be lost in the snow, right? Because the only reason they have their footprints is because their feet melted the snow and, like, formed, like, ice casts. But anyone else could have been there, and if they were wearing shoes, the footprints would have been lost.
Yeah.
And 2 of these people's parents were in gulags. Like, in my mind, they're not... Like, this is communism. If your family is bad, you're kind of deemed bad too, in my mind.
You're right, yeah. Yeah, you're part of the enemy, or whatever.
Or you could be, and they probably were paying extra attention to you. And knowing what the CIA did, like, during this time, I have no doubt in my mind Russia was worse.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have just been listening to all of them. And then one of them says something that they shouldn't have. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah. Then everyone that heard that, which is everyone, has to die.
Very possible. Or it went horribly wrong and they realized they couldn't get back to...
Yeah.
Because the 2 that died of hypothermia died first, also. Because everyone took their clothes.
Oh.
But they were the least injured.
And
what were they doing in the tree?
Yeah.
Except that they could have seen the tent from the tree, but it was dark. So what would they have seen? You know, like...
Yeah, but they also made shelter, so... But didn't use it.
Didn't use it, put out their fire, which makes me think... And someone had... I want to say Zena had something wrapped around her foot that was a military, like something that the military used